Alright, so the next step to getting my lift back is to get the cab back on the chassis there. The big challenge here is that the tires, at least at the ride height the car is set now, the tires almost buzzed the bottom of the hood. So that being said, we're gonna have to cut a couple things. So that's step one. I'll get on that. Get it outside so I'm room to work. Thankfully it's not raining or snowing today like it was yesterday. Oh. It's like molasses. So get this down and resume. 3 minutes later, the same size tire that we use that are on the wheels now. Set the wheel well, whatnot. Yeah, you can see that it's the front of the body might go up an inch from there, but the rear is definitely where it needs to be. So, and the top of that pinch weld is where the fender sits. So it's legitimately there, and that's at ride height, which means you know, hit a bump or lower it even more, the tire is going to go that much higher. So next, we got to go measure how wide it is. So inside to inside is about 51 inches. Here, need to replace my tape measure here. It's some better days. All right, so the pinch weld itself, left to right, is 51 inches. So anything that's outside of that needs to be trimmed. This is this inner structure, I think, is going to be okay to stay. This is about where the tire is going to sit. It might be in a little bit, but we basically just need to make sure there's room to turn, which I can't really test until I cut that out. So that's step one. Snip, snip. There's the inner structure, and then there's kind of an outer structure. So that is what's going to have to get cut out, and it'll be capped again at some point later. Alright, so the simplest way to do this is I've got the cab down about ride height, and got the tire here, so more or less center it and trace what needs to be cut out. Cut all that out, and then from that point I can at least get the cab down onto the chassis. At that point I can actually lower the whole thing with the push-ons. There's not enough weight on it, I can turn by hand. So lower everything down, and at some point the tire is going to come up either into the hood or above the hood, and at that point we need to decide to clearance that, which means redoing all of this. It's going to be basically separating the whole front fascia from the cab, or call it good enough, and that's just the lowest it can go. Alright, time for cutting. Plasma cutter. I got this thing in 2003, and the first car I cut was that rear-wheel drive Del Sol that I built way back in the day. It's one of my favorite tools. Going all the way in because I don't want to blast through. So I'm going to go about an inch. Alright, so what we got is I'm ready to drop the cab on. Got both sides notched out. The issue is we have to unbolt these braces right here. So these two we got to unbolt. Problem with that is the chassis will fold without support. So we have to get support, but also it has to be somewhat lined up. So when we drop the cab on, it's going where it's supposed to. So I think I have it pretty close. The good news is it'll kind of move around on the lift, so it's not, it's not like it weighs a ton. So I guess step one in this is to get these bars out of here and get the chassis supported. Probably got to back it up a little bit. Yeah, somewhere about there. That was a good stroke of luck. So, yeah, 3.5 inches. Oh, shoot, I have to do the same thing back here, because when I take the mock shock out of there, the rear is going to fall too. So, let's do this. There. That's not going anywhere. This part's always a little unnerving because it's the first time the chassis gets separated after initial attack and mostly welded. There's still a lot of stuff that isn't welded because I couldn't get to it on the table. Go. Those are clean. There's one. There we go, everything's fully supported by wood. Kind of hate this part, but it is what it is. So now we can drop the cab on. And then hopefully everything fits back together. It's like molasses. Come here. pretty well down, I think. That is cab down. Obviously, we can see that, but I'm pretty sure the cab's tilted a little forward than it was, so a little more forward. Yeah, it's definitely got a forward rake to it right now. So basically, I'll pick a final point and pick it up a little bit. You're gonna have to clearance a little more control arms. Ooh. Those look good. Yes, please. So that's that. Good thing I brought the car in because it's nasty out there. Cool, so next, let's see if these freaking braces fit back on. Oh wait. After clearance, I gotta cut holes for those on both sides. So do that first, and then we'll try to bolt the braces back on. Got that brace on just fine. I do a little bit of trimming on that one to get the brace in. There'll be some sort of gasket or seal used around the tube. Not there yet, but that way it's actually water resistant. Got the braces in. And got it ready to go up on the lift. Cool. Obviously the truck's on the left. I need to trim that. I was a little bit off on my trims, but that's fine because we need the clearance for turning anyway. So I'm going to trim that a little bit. That way I can roll and such. Same thing on this side. Get that done, and then yeah, it's ready to roll outside, except that it's pouring, so that's going to happen tomorrow. A little more trimming. Did both sides. What I might have to do is I might have to set up the alignment to where the wheel actually goes forward a little bit. Well, let's see what it looks like as it goes in the ground. Hey, there's clearance. Oof. That's nice. Good. Still clears. Alright, I'm gonna get the lift out. I had to roll it outside. It stopped pouring. Slightly wider than stock. Yep, I'm pretty pumped with that. So right now there's about 2.5 inches of clearance in the front. So if we look at the it's got a long way to go. Or sorry, does not have a long way to go before the hood hits the tire. So not going to be able to get too wild. Still need usable suspension. So what I might end up doing is picking up the cab a little bit with the mounts. Maybe even a 1/2 inch will do a lot. Right now the cab is sitting on the cage, so pick it up a 1/2 inch. That'll help quite a bit. So that's going to be next. Get the cab mounted. I believe tomorrow the real adapter plate shows up for the gearbox, so the whole rear end of the truck's going to come apart, so we can finish the mounts for the transmission. I decided I am going to cut these legs off. I've left them on just for handles right now, but those get cut off. I weld on my hidden nuts, and yep. I'm very happy with how it looks. Might as well open up all the doors while we're out here. Just kind of can't get enough. Wish it was warmer out. It's like 33 degrees out and raining. Alright, time to go back in. It's starting to rain.